So my name is John-Paul Marin. I am the manager of the Digital Creative Labs for SBS Television in Australia.
How could you define interactive documentary?
That's a really good question. I actually have never. I would prefer to refer to the work that we do as interactive storytelling. To be honest, I feel putting it in the documentary box sometimes can just keep the creative ambitions of projects a little bit too contained. So the way I see it is the documentary or the film or the narrative always has a good story at its heart. It's something that compels and draws people emotionally, and so I feel like the interactive element to that is really about finding ways to get that story to evoke more emotion from audiences by using different sort of techniques to draw that from them. It's about breaking free from, I suppose, our understanding of this sort of linear point A to point B story, and playing with that and experimenting with that to see, just how far can you bring someone to understanding about a topic? How far can you increase that understanding? How much more can you take that story in order to get audiences to really be compelled by what it is that you're saying?
What can be the interactive documentary production model?
What can be the interactive documentary production model? Again, another good question. It would be a lie for me to tell you that we've figured out a model that works for all projects at SBS, because every project we have tried different models. I suppose the elements or the ingredients that remain the same are that we have a team of people, but there are leaders in that team that look after different parts of the project. No matter what interactive narrative project you're working on, there's always going to be someone that looks after the story, the editorial aspect to the project. There's always one person that's going to be in charge of the creative aspiration, the art direction, and there's going to be someone that's going to be in charge of the technical. At SBS, we produce most of our projects internally. So each of those people in that team work within SBS, but of course we can't. We have with certain projects, the ambition is always a lot greater than the abilities that we have individually to deliver them. So we collaborate very often with external producers, and so depending on the project, we will bring people in and graft them into the teams to contribute what it is that they specialise in, be that journalists, animators, illustrators. Often these are creative components that really make a good project become something that's great. And of course, as you would know, to have each of these different people hired in the one team, it would be a very expensive proposition. So the model that we tend to use is to have those three key creative and technical members in the team, and then we sort of branch out and collaborate with various different disciplines.
What are your favorite interactive documentary or documentaries? Do you have any?
My all-time favorite interactive narrative project is Bear 71. I think that was a fantastic execution of a very profound dramatic story that everyone relates to, even though it was about a specific subject in a very specific place. The way that they told that story across 20 minutes, the way it was edited, the way it blended the digital, the sort of the sense of discovery that audiences have, and mixed all of that together so that they told you a story, but you still got this sense of being a discoverer, I thought was magical. So that's by far my favorite.
Do you think interactive documentary can be applied for educational purpose, and could it be a profitable market?
On the first part, I would say that yes, I definitely think that interactive documentary lends itself to the education sector. I think students by default have an exploratory nature. We're all taught very young to ask questions and to dig deeper, and I think that the interactive documentary sort of format applies really well to that, where you can deconstruct a theme into all its little pieces, and therefore the student can immerse themselves and discover a lot more than they would if they had just watched a film, let's say. Is it profitable, or can it be profitable? I think so. Again, if we just relied on public broadcasting and public funds, I think it would be a difficult task, but I see more and more commercial applications for interactive documentary, brands that are sponsoring because they are sponsoring projects because they want to humanize their brand, they want to be relevant, and they want to be cool. So I think there's definitely somewhat of an untapped market if you were to think about how to get these projects sponsored by certain brands without having to forego the editorial integrity. I think is always the key thing. You can still have a great story, and it can be brought to you by Fujifilm. So I don't think there's a problem with that. Yeah.
Well, does interactive documentary need to generate engagement?
I think definitely social media is by far, I think, the way that we, the platform that we need to tap into the most to get audiences to engage with it. It's a natural behaviour. As it's unfolding. Social media is something that people do without even thinking about it. But in doing that, they're already telling each other stories. They're already connecting with each other and their networks and sort of standing behind a particular theme. I think projects that can utilise that behaviour of how audiences engage with each other, but do it in a way that also brings in some of the interactive, the documentary elements to it. I think that's a really, they're really good ways right now to have audiences engage. We're talking now beyond just the theme, obviously. People are time poor. People don't have 20 minutes or 30 minutes to spend on an experience. So where they're able to, if you're able to create an experience that they can come in and out of very easily by either remembering the last state they were at or all those kinds of things, I think that's a really good way that you customize it to the way that people are engaging with content. And right now we're going through a period of we've got short attention spans, right? So that's a good thing and a bad thing sometimes. But if you're smart about it, I think you can turn that into an advantage for your project. What do you think about DocsBarcelona, and what activities do you come to? What do I like about DocsBarcelona? I love the fact that it's a setup that's engaging with the film makers, the content creators. I love that it's got a focus on innovation and interactivity, because we know that that's where the future of storytelling is. Whether it's a documentary that you see on TV or a website or through virtual reality, humans are finding new ways to get their story into people's brains, and this conference, like many others, I suppose, is really important to help evangelize that sort of notion, and to help get the content creators ultimately to think about new ways to tell their stories and connect them with digital and technical people.
What kind of activities are you attending?
So I'm here predominantly for the interactive pitch, so I'll be on a panel as part of that, and I'll also be adding my 2 cents to the NFB masterclass as well.
All right.
And hopefully, if there's enough time, I'm going to do a bit of a show and tell of an upcoming project that we've got.